Here at Unfinished Business Television, we are proud affiliate partners of the website Super 7, the home of many famous nostalgic action figures and apparel. If you could support the show, it would come a long way using the promo code AJEpics whenever you purchase anything in their store, and we love all of their amazing toys. So support Super 7 and please support Unfinished Business Television.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to another episode of Unfinished Business Television. I am Jeff Galashaw, your host, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Andre Joseph of Collider and AJEpics Productions.
Dishes are done, man.
Dishes
And
are done.
by that line, you should know who our special guest is this week. He has been an actor his whole life. It is in his blood as the grandson of Jackie Coogan and a child actor over the years, watching him literally grow up on screen over the years, who has starred in many films and television projects as a child, teen, and particularly coming of age films. He's an actor who is instantly recognizable as a former or current team heartthrob, as he is still handsome.
Wow.
My generation grew up with him, and he is a lovable screen presence. We are honored and happy to have Mr. Keith Coogan with us today.
Can you rewrite my IMDb biography? That was fantastic. That was wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No notes.
Yeah, thank you. It's from the heart.
Thank you.
So, Keith, thank you so much for coming on, man. We've been following your career for God knows how long, since I was a kid, watching your stuff on cable, on summers, continuously. So, as I ask all of our guests, what got you started in the business?
Watching other kids on TV, on shows like Sesame Street and Electric Company. LA had Via Allegra. It was like half Spanish, half English. Zoom. What was the other, like anything with kids on it and kids on commercials singing like Oscar Mayer, Wiener, Romper Room. Oh God, Romper Room. Everyone wanted to have their name called out on Romper Room. So I just saw a bunch of kids on TV. They looked like they're having fun. I was like, I want to be on TV. And my mom, who had really kept me from, not really kept me, but she wasn't in touch with my family and grandfather. She was more counterculture, hippie. She's goddamn hippie. So she just looks at me and she goes, well, it's a lot of work. It's a career. You have to start headshots, and you have to learn the songs and dances, and you'll start doing commercials, then guest appearances, then you'll do. And I went, I'm 5. I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work. So I lost interest. She says 6 months later, she had some other hippies over. I don't know. They were smoking out. And I jumped in the middle of the room on a table and I'm like, my baloney has a first name. It's OSC. And I do the whole dance. I'm probably gritting my teeth through it. And I finish. I'm like, I did it. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do whatever it takes. And she took me to a kid agent. I could read really well, memorized a copy, page a copy. It was like a Texaco commercial or something. And I'm like, got it. And this is, So the agent goes, I can't wait to get him out and get him to casting directors. And, I can't wait. Tell him I've got Jackie Coogan's grandson. And my mother goes, no, he's not going to use the Coogan name. He's going to go under her married name. My birth name was Mitchell. Who the hell's Keith Mitchell? So I worked for 10 years in television entirely under Keith Mitchell. And 2 things happened. I guess I matured. I turned into an adolescent. So it was time to kind of make a break from the kid roles to the young adult roles. My grandfather had passed in 84. And then I changed it to Coogan around that time, around 85, 86. I did 1 year as Keith Mitchell Coogan. And my mother was right. You have to learn the moves. You have to audition. You have to do commercials. And then you do guest appearances. Then the movies of the week. And then you do some features. it was a career. It's like any business you start in the mailroom.
True. Well, speaking of which, did you feel like your career was on the right path when you started like co-starring with Gary Coleman and the kid with the broken halo?
Absolutely. When you start winding up on the Gary Coleman stuff, or and those had great, like other stars in it, kind of like a Love Boat or a Fantasy Island. So I wound up doing those two, and you just kind of hop into the box, and it shows that I'm a kid. I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, and I'm on the shows that I would watch. Honestly, we didn't watch the Waltons until I was on it, but most of the other shows, I'm like Knight Rider, hell yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, all that stuff. The sitcoms were a little iffy in that they're live. There's a studio audience, and I remember my first one was Laverne and Shirley, and I go and I make my entrance, and there's a crowd. I open the door, and I break a huge smile on my face. I'm like, this is rad. And a cut, whatever, and I had to pick that up at the end of the night. And I had always felt nervous. Film or TV, you've got your setup, your lighting, your thing, cool. Lunches in 20 minutes, cool. Get a take. It's 2 pages of dialogue, stupid TV stuff, and usually very melodramatic. And the kids weren't demanded much because they weren't the center or focus in the 70s in television. We're a plot point. We're a lost kid, a prop, a bratty kid. And usually all of my characters ended with the E sound. Timmy, Jimmy, Jeffrey. One point I'm cast as Scott. And I'm like, I'm so cool. It's not. And they go, it's Scotty. So Steve, no, and Steve, and they go, his name's Stevie. Who the hell is named Stevie? But I even did this thing called $1 Million Infield. It had Rob Reiner, Chris Sarandon, all these great, Bruno Kirby, that whole gang, Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
And one of my first jobs, I was like 6, I think, and I got a movie of the week, and it was with Klug Ulicker, Jenna Rollins, and Jane Alexander, method actors. I'm like, I don't know what, I don't know what method means, but that was fun. And so you just behave yourself on set, nail it in a take or two, and let them stay on schedule. And you just keep kind of working for the same producers. And if they have another show, they'll put you on the other show. Spelling would do that.
Yeah, so I guess that pretty much makes us jump to Adventures in Babysitting. I mean, that was like your first really significant role. You had all these other roles previously in television. I know you did The Fox and the Hound when you were very young. So here you were now, like you were in a major Disney production under Touchstone. So how did you get that role, and what was it like working with Chris Columbus on his directorial debut?
It was Jane Jenkins, Janet Hershenson casting. And there's a room on Beverly in LA. Everyone goes. You go up for everything. You go up for like Outsiders, the TV series. And you see the same group of kids, the same 8 or 12 or 20 other kids that are your height, your age, your whatever. And your type too. You're like, who you reading for? And it's the same role you're reading for. You're like, so there's posturing in the audition room. You walk in and you're like, either look around and you go, damn, that's who I would cast for the role. Or you walk in the room and they look at you and they go, damn, Coogan's here. So, and it was like, I talk to kids now that, we all work together and we didn't care because we're kids. We're not trying to make a bill, trying to pay a credit card. You know what I mean? We're not worried on that level that work means food and clothing and shelter. There's so much work to go around for the 20 kids that did this back in the 70s. I swear it was a really small pool that everybody you booked anyway. I didn't get that one, but you got this other one. So the babysitting was a thing and then a callback, and then they do mix and matches. So they bring in a bunch of kids, and so 2, 3 Brads, a couple of Daryls, a couple of Sarahs, a couple of babysitters. Elizabeth Shue, Phoebe Cates, Jamie Gertz, Valerie Bertinelli, all auditioning right in front of me. And I'm working with them and doing scenes and stuff. We wind up being paired with Elizabeth Shue a lot, and she's doing great. and she was always with Maya Bruton. It seemed like they never had a different little girl. Well, maybe they go swap Sarah out for a second. We were shooting in a warehouse in Burbank with a film camera because they were doing a camera test as well as like kind of screen testing all of us. And I brought an Apple IIc, the portable Apple, back in 1986. And I brought it to the audition, set it up in the audition room, in the waiting room, and put one-on-one, the basketball game, Larry Bird. And all the kids went, cool. They all ran to the game to start playing with it. And I turned around in the corner. I started going over my lines. That was a bad, dirty trick, man.
Oh man.
So it came down to like the final, screen test, and Chris Columbus had taken me aside and we talked, and yeah, I just was really honest with him about, I wasn't afraid of not getting the movie. I was afraid of booking it. I know what, like, this could be great. This is amazing. This is a great ensemble cast. It's obviously Elizabeth Shue's movie, but the earlier drafts of the script, it was Brad's movie. And as they were going and rewriting and developing, they shifted it to be the babysitter's point of view, which is interesting because it left over a really rich character in Brad. So I have the same thing as all the other characters, but he doesn't get the girl. And so there's all these really nice moments for Brad. So I had the little puppy dog face and a terrible crush on Elizabeth Shue. So there was no acting involved. And they saw that. You see that there's a chemistry. You put the camera on two actors and it works. You put them on the other two actors, it doesn't work. And at one point, me and Anthony Rapp, Brad and Daryl, and we're doing, all of a sudden, we're matched up a lot. So something's working about me and Anthony Rapp is working. I think I just got on his nerves. And that was reading on screen. So, and then he got on my nerves. His character got on my nerves, my character's nerves. So at one point, they go switch, and we switched. And I read for Daryl, he read for Brad. And it was the subway scene or something, or the L train scene. And then they go, okay, switch back. And we got it. We went off to Toronto and shot 2 months in Toronto, January, February of '87. And then like late February or March, we came into Chicago for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks in Chicago, and then to LA for a week for Intravision, which is front screen projection. So it's not rear screen projection. The camera is the projector for the plate footage that you've shot already. When you project it, there's this Mylar screen that reflects it back into the lens exactly, but your skin and your costumes don't reflect it back, and it creates an instant blue screen traveling matte kind of effect, and it puts you in the set. So we did all the hanging out of the building and 1 or 2 shots of like climbing the rafters when we're above the chop shop. That was fun to do the special effects. It was a short-lived effects company. They did like The Fugitive, the train crash. They did Stand By Me, the train in Stand By Me. And sometimes it'd look Outland with Sean Connery. That was one of the best usages of this technology. And then it came out in July for the July 4th weekend. Wait, we just wrapped in March, April, May, June, and bam, it drops in July. They edited it, did the sound, did the thing, the effect, titles, music, and really cut the ads and all that stuff, and released that thing, and it did great. We had a great summer. It ran for weeks and weeks. And it after it debuted, it then went up next week. They added screens. It just played all summer, and then it did wind up on reruns and stuff and cable, and now it's locked on Disney Plus in a PG-13 version, and you can't hear any of the naughty words.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad words in Adventures of Babysitting. We'll meet fans that are like the same age as me. They're like, I grew up with you. And they go, we have kids, and we went to show them Adventures of Babysitting, and the kids are like 8 and 5, and they're like, we forgot. And so the kids are like running around all day. Shit.
Like when you, I guess this is a technical acting question.
Sure.
When you're like you have Maya Bruton playing your little sister and Anthony Rapp playing your best friend, even though they're doing like, trying to match you guys perfectly on screen, off screen, do you guys like kind of hang out together or get to know each other? So
Yeah,
that
and
chemistry.
as the relationship is in the thing. So I pined after Elizabeth Shue, hung out with Anthony. We'd go, bookstores and arcades and just hang out. Maya Bruton was like my little sister. So that, yeah, you do it. It should be natural, and I think like casting, um, should be once you've done that, it's kind of just done. You don't have to work that hard to direct the scenes or rewrite them because all of them kind of understand each other and their characters, and there's enough overlay of the character to the actor somewhere in there that if the actor has an instinct, oh wait, my character would do this, that then the other actors start trusting and they go, yep, you're right. That's what Brad would do. That's what Chris would do. That's what, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
Mhm.
We also did a weird thing that a lot of movies don't do. We had rehearsal 2 weeks in December of '86. And then we took a break for the New Year's and then came back and shot. But those 2 weeks, we put the scenes on their feet and worked them and ran it like a play, like front to back. And would improv and stuff. And then the script supervisor would write down the stuff and there'd be new pages the next day. So and it was really nice because we're kids. But with Linda Opes, Deborah Hill, Chris Columbus, and David Simpkins, who wrote the script, these four adults and us four kids, everyone's ideas were valid. We would try bits out, and they would listen to us, which nobody listens to a kid. But remember, this is before just 2 movies later, I think. When is it? Chris Columbus did Heartbreak Hotel, and then he did Home Alone. For the
Yeah.
first time, a kid actor's getting better billing and better pay. And the entire movie is around the kid as the lead. That was a huge blockbuster. And that changed for kids in the industry. Now kids could ask for the big money and get that good credit. Thank you, Macaulay.
um. Well, our questions are going to jump around a little, but
Yeah, I jump around. I got so much ADHD. When did they add the H? That's what I want to know.
I think it had to be around like 2010 when they decided.
All right. Like, when did the H come in there? Jesus.
Yeah, like, hey, let's cover all our bases, so we'll put the H in there. Now you appeared on a memorable guest appearance on 21 Jump Street, one of my favorite roles of yours. And
wow.
I mean, every season they usually would, revolve around more the story of whoever the cops were investigating more than the cops themselves. So in your episode, Aoki, busted your family, and you're trying to get revenge, so to speak. And I was wondering, like, when it came to that episode, since you're usually, a kind of a more every man on screen, even as a teenager, comedic. Was there any like special place you had to go to mentally to play like this nihilistic kid bent on revenge?
What's interesting was I'm a straight-laced kid. You have to get good grades or you lose your work permit and you can't pay all the bills and get guest stars on stuff like Jump Street. So there you do have to use your imagination. And although since my parents were hippies in the 60s and the 70s, and I'm not going to say anything online, let's just say I had people I could go to consult about that kind of information. And so I was a hip kid. I knew it was up. And so Kyle, I remember his name because it was clips or whatever it was on. He is convinced by Aoki in the past to have turned his sister, his dad, and his mother in, narked him out. So I went. It was interesting because I'm like, I've done after school specials before. Don't drink and drive. Don't do the thing, right? So of course there's a morality play. Every episode there's that music where Fonzie sits down next to it and they go, nah, 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 the music turns. So what was interesting about that episode was it was directed by the youngest director of network television ever, Tucker Gates, who is still directing. He directs The Morning Show on Apple Plus with Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston. Tucker, what's up? Come on, Coogan, your boy. And that particular episode, if you notice, there's no Johnny Depp.
Yes. And
None. We got Deloise, we got everyone else is in it. But what he was shooting Crybaby.
Oh, wow.
So he's off with New Line, shooting Crybaby with Amy Locane. And hi, Amy. We love you. We'll see you. We'll see you soon. Hang in there. We love you so much, Amy. And it was great to see you. And we'll see you again soon. Okay. So there was no Johnny Depp. And it's so funny. My mother, she loves me. And so she's like, you look like Johnny. You could have done Pirates of the Caribbean. You could have. So she come up with some cockamamie story. She goes, yeah, they cast you because Johnny wasn't available that week. So they needed someone to carry the episode. And I was like, you're so full of shit. But it wasn't Aoki. That week was Aoki's episode, and he rocked it. He did great. He had to do wigs and mullets and like beach invasion scenes, and he had all these like nightmares and a love story, and he had a heavy week. He worked every scene every day of that episode. It was crazy.
And oh man.
So
go ahead.
I also have to ask you about the movie Hiding Out with John Cryer.
Yeah, my boy.
Because that one, it has such an odd tone, because on one hand it feels like a John Hughes movie, and on the other hand it is so violent for that time as a teen movie. But the thing I really liked about it was your chemistry with Cryer as his cousin. So how much hanging out did you do off set to kind of like get that rapport going?
Absolutely zero, because
Really?
John is leading the charge. He's first on the set and last off at the end of the day. He's also going to dailies. And I'm also there kind of side by side working. I'm like, when do you have time to work on all this stuff? Like, because he's bringing Maxwell Hauser to life, right? And he was so suited for the material was perfect for him, because he had the baby face, and the joke is we use 28-year-olds to play teenagers like Ralph Macchio. Well, John Cryer kind of fell into that. He's theater trained actor, and very, very funny and very honest and very good. A lot of actors, I think there was always, I call it like the Robin Williams or the Jim Carrey drama acting. When a comedian is like, and they do their important drama, and they just take themselves way too seriously. So anyway, yeah. Wow.
And the bathroom scene with Claude Brooks doing the rap
Claude
when they decide to. He's actually a patient of my dad's. My dad's a dentist. He used to be one of his patients when he has private practice.
Yeah, she just violated all sorts of fucking HIPAA, but that's amazing. Because Claude was so responsible for God, what was his character's name?
I completely forgot.
Oh my God, that's Clinton. Yeah, my man Clinton. And I love Patrick's like, man, I wish I could walk like that. It was so terrible. But people are getting butthurt about like Monster Squad or Adventures of Babysitting, Thor's a homo, whatever. But some get passes if they're in character, if they suit the story, if it's a product of its time. And you could go in larger chunks into the past and history and find all sorts of awful behavior that, how do you make a movie without saying that people did this to other people and called each other people? So it's like, you got to live with it and kind of own it, for things that are inappropriate. So Hiding Out has a few, like, he's a stockbroker in Boston, and, business school, and obviously an adult in his 20s, maybe 30s. How old is the girl, Annabeth Gish, supposed to be in Hiding Out?
I think so.
What's great is he's like, I can't, no. And he totally rips on her. And then it shows them later and she's in college, and you go, okay, you presume she's over 18. So nice job. But that was a reshoot. They go, we need something. We need another tag. And so if you look, she's wearing a wig. His hair is not quite colored or cut Kind of the same. When he's like, "Hi, Eddie Haskell." Oh my God. Was it so the tonally what had happened is that it was directed by Bob Giraldi. He had directed this Pepsi commercial with Michael Jackson. There was a pyrotechnic issue, and then a hairpiece got set on fire, producing second and third degree burns to Michael's scalp. It's not the director's fault. Obviously, it was the special effects pyrotechnician, or it was a cue or a misread on when to walk through when the sparks went and all that stuff. I get it. But it was also shot by Daniel Pearl, who was the cameraman on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So you got, and Daniel started working with Bob Giraldi on music videos. And if you remember when MTV split into, they go, our audiences are everywhere. Let's make the Holy Trinity. You've got MTV Rocks, basically have Headbangers Ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you had country. And then you had MTV Raps, man. That was it. That was it. And there were certain hours you're like, oh, okay, it's the country hour, whatever. And then VH1 came along and sucked the country off. Hiding Out had a music video. I was so stoked for Catch Me I'm Falling, I think. It had 3 top 10 hits, the Boy George song, Catch Me I'm Falling, and the Roy Orbison, Katie Lang. Hiding Out introduced people to Katie Lang.
Wow.
I see. I did not even know that.
And
And that was all DEG. That was De Laurentiis. Dino De Laurentiis, like King Kong.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had 1.5 hour lunches. You have to let the wine breathe. We got a buffet, an antipasta. Try the fish.
I just want to ask, this was on your IMDb page. Is it true that you actually had to choose between starring in Cheetah, the movie, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes. Not to get into specific financials, but they're under Touchstone Pictures existed it was a 3-picture deal. So when you work for Touchstone, which was financed by Silver Screen Partners 3. It's the most successful film finance company in the history of film finance companies. It gave 600% return on your money because Touchstone goals was only make pictures for under $10 million. And that's how we got Splash, Outrageous Fortune, Ruthless People, what's the one, Stakeout, and Adventures in Babysitting. And sitting on the board of Silver Screen Partners 3, George Bush Jr. George Bush Jr. helped finance Stakeout. Let's just make that clear. Where were we? My God.
I guess so. Why you chose Cheetah?
Okay, so you sign a 3-picture deal. The 3-picture deal doesn't say you're doing 3 pictures for us. The 3-picture deal means if you wind up doing more pictures after the first one, we've already negotiated your 2nd picture salary and your 3rd picture salary. And that salary is represented by an X. So there's no time limit. And movies can take, I've shot a movie in 16 days. It was a ski picture. It's kind of funny. Downhill Willie. They did 60 days of second unit, but I've shot movies that took 3 months or took whatever. So I had read for, actually I got a call from Mike Fenton, who's a legendary casting director. And he goes, can I get a favor? And I'm like, a favor for this great casting director? He goes, I'm reading the lead girl for this special effects movie, Shrinking the Kids or something. And I need a guy to come in and kiss every 16-year-old girl in town. Okay, Mike, I will, for you, sir, for you, it's going to be a haul to get in there, but I'll come into Disney and I'll read with all these girls. I got to kiss all of the young ingenues in town. And, but I had also read for Cheetah, who was directed by Jeff Blythe. He shot the helicopter footage in The Shining of the opening credits, and that was reused in Blade Runner. And he's like really technical. They're like, Disney was going to give him money to go to Africa with animals and try to shoot a movie with kids and animals in an exotic location. The 3 big no-nos: don't work with kids, no animals, and no exotic locations. So here's the deal. I would have gotten paid the same either picture.
Okay.
Okay. So Cheetah was a 5-week shoot in Africa, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a 6-month shoot in Mexico City. What it did is it improved my weekly rate. So if you divide the X by the weeks, all of a sudden my weekly rate went up to, where I started. It really helped with Cousins and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, Toy Soldiers, Book of Love, all, good stuff. I had a great agent, and, it was a kid agent. Oh, well, can't stay young forever. My mom tried cigarettes, coffee, donuts, shrink them, stunt his growth.
So yeah, I got to ask you about Toy Soldiers because growing up, that was one of those movies. Every time it was on TV, I would stop and watch it because you guys were just fucking awesome all together. You,
Thank
Sean
you.
Astin, Will Wheaton, and I love Louis Gossett Jr., who's no longer with us. So I just have to ask, like, was it intimidating working with him and Andrew Devoff and doing like these intense face-offs?
God, no intimidation. Us, T. Russell, George Perez, all of us kids. We were focused on the friendship and being this group, the rejects, and you have to instantly have camaraderie, like you've been in school for years together and are roommates, and you've had 1 week of rehearsal. Go. So they even tried to make us spend the night at the school. We're staying at a Days Inn across from like Kmart, Kroger's or something. And by the way, me and Will Wheaton want to apologize to entire staff. Thank you for your help, but we were terrible to you. We're sorry. Me and Will Wheaton threw all the pool furniture in the pool. We ordered a trundle bed and stuck it in the elevator, and then you had to like get on the bed to get into the elevator. I'm so sorry. So sorry. So Toy Soldiers, we're all auditioning, and every kid in town's going up for it. Everybody wants on this, Die Hard in a school. I called it Dead Poets Society meets Die Hard.
Mm.
It had a bit of taps in it. It had Red Dawn. It had that
Yeah,
whole the kids can take on what? Terrorists, military, guns, helicopters, grenades. Wet dream, right? And I'm 20, so I'm like, yeah, I wanted this picture. I had the pleasure though because I didn't have to work out. I didn't have to look buff. I played Snuffy, the asthmatic who gets allergic to grass. So I could just let myself go. As a matter of fact, we took red eyeliner and put a little underneath just to give me that kind of like hay fever look. And so we get to pick underwear. For some reason, they stuck us, in a room, and they go, "You're going to be in your underwear for like most of the second act." And we go, "What?" And they go, "Well, it's hot. It's Virginia, and they've turned the power out, and there's 7 of you in a room that normally has 2 roommates. So you're going to be hot, and you're going to be in your underwear the whole movie." And we didn't even think about it. We went, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." And so we're picking underwear, and you get to pick your own. And so that all the guys are trying to be cool because they're at the Days Inn working out in the gym and eating the lean. I mean, I'll have the fish. Fuck you, give me the fried chicken. Honestly, I never met a plate of biscuits and gravy I didn't like. So they're picking up black boxers. Oh, I'll take black briefs and stuff. And me as Snuffy, and I'm like, oh, tidy whities. He would totally wear tidy whities. So I got to cruise through and smoke and spit and curse and be a rebel, but not when they're looking. If the bad guys are looking, I'm a douchebag and I like raise my hand. When they're not looking, I like spit at their back. And I just liked he's a rebel, but he also knows the rules. And if he's also going to become the chairman of the Republican Party, which his father was, can you believe the kids' parents and the power they all had? This is why we need to redo Toy Soldiers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called Girl Soldiers.
Okay.
So Snuffy and Giles and all the kids, we all meet up on the day of Joey Trotta's death. So it's a remembrance. We go back to the school, and we're older. We all have kids, daughters, and they're trouble. And they go to the Regis Academy, which is now co-ed. And in comes Jimmy Trotta, which is Joey Trotta's twin brother, played by Will Wheaton. And he's got a daughter who's just a mess. She's like fighting the bodyguards, and he's like, "Yeah, this is private school." They're like, "Yeah, it's a wait list." He goes, "Hold on." He takes a briefcase into the school. Wait list is taken care of. The girl's thrown into the school with the other daughters of the kids. Well, Louisa Callie, who is the niece of Louis Callie, Not only did they kill her grandfather in prison, the mob hit, but they killed her father, the Pentagon, and those boys. And Billy Tepper is going to pay for it. So she infiltrates the school and takes over and takes hostages. And we instantly get kidnapped and held hostage. But our daughters have escaped into the woods. They're living like Red Dawn style, right? And by the way, I've lowered the budget by removing any grenades, guns, helicopters, or explosions. It's all MMA and bladed weapons. So, right, I need 3 weeks rehearsal with these girls, and we'll have a bitchin' movie, man. So the girls get wind of what's going on because now we got the cell phones and the shit. So there's no way they're gonna black out nothing. Everybody knows what's going on, although they got jammers and shit. So our daughters break back into the school to rescue their dads. Girl soldiers.
I'd go see it, definitely.
Me too. I'd love to direct it.
Oh man. Well, I actually want to ask you about Book of Love, which is unfortunately very hard to find right now.
Yeah, it is.
My question, was it intimidating, being in a film directed by, the studio head of New
No,
Love?
because it wasn't because this was his directorial debut. Funny, I've had a lot of directorial debuts.
Yes.
Adventures in Babysitting, Hiding Out was Bob Giraldi's first movie. Toy Soldiers was Dan Peachler Jr.'s first movie. And Book of Love, Bob Shaye's first movie. So Bob was interesting because he'd hired a producer, Rachel Talalay. She directed Tank Girl and Freddy's Final Nightmare. And she'd be on set and she goes, "We can't do that shot, Bob. We got to wrap." And Bob goes, "No, we're going to do the crane shot with the cars." And she goes, "We don't have the budget, Bob." And he goes, "Well, I'm the producer. And yeah, we've got the money. I just decided we have the money." And she goes, "Why the fuck did you hire me?" So he got whatever he wanted, and maybe we ran a little over budget. We'd have a party every year after the movie and he would tell the cast and crew how much he lost making, but he goes, 1.3 million. All right, everybody, I lost 1 million. But I love that it's found a niche from Buick lovers, like these chopped Buicks and beautiful cars. And what's great about it is most movies with the 50s, they have the hero in the shiniest, 57 Chevy, whatever, and it's cherry, and he pulls up the Beater 53 out of a lake, and it's got like seaweed on it, and rust, and the panels have got holes in it, and the thing blows up. It's bellows smoke. That's the car you start with, right, as a kid. It just, whether it's the 50s or the 80s or today, God, I feel like an ad agency. Dude, coming of age is universal. What's interesting, in the book, it's one character. Peanut, played by Eric Egan, grows up and turns into Twiller by Chris Young. So they go, let's fold the book, and so that they have the younger brother grow up with the older brother, and we can tell the whole book, but at the same time. And it made great sense because it's kind of like he's talking to himself. And it had a lot of Bob in it, in that Bob's first movie was pretty experimental that he made. And then he started to quickly become a distributor because he found that the copyright wasn't in effect for Reefer Madness. So he took Reefer Madness around college campuses and he became a distributor. And then he started going to con and picking up movies. And one point he goes to Cannes Film Festival and he puts Jackie Chan on his shoulders. And he goes, "I discovered Jackie Chan." And he brought him back to start the Jackie Chan stuff back out here. So he is the house that Freddie built, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street. My God, huge. In the middle of rehearsing, we're up at Bob Shaye's house and Trisha Fisher. Oh God, John Cameron Mitchell, who's hysterical. Danny Nucci, legend. Love you, Danny. But I love all these guys so much. And we're rehearsing, and Bob goes, "Hey, I want to show you guys something. You have a minute?" We're like, "Yeah, Bob, whatever." And there's around the room is all these Freddy heads and gloves and all this shit, dolls and shit. And he comes back in with a tape, and he plays us a trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. No one had seen any. It was like about to be released. He plays it for us, and we're just like, and he finished. He goes, "What do you think?" And we go, "How did you get the mouth to sit?" Like, that was amazing. That was some of the coolest shit we've ever seen. No notes. And we said more of that. We go, that is amazing, and we need to see more of that talking shit, because that fucking blows me away. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became the highest grossing independent movie, like an independent studio. Eventually, Bob Shaye sold out to Warner Brothers for $600 million. He got a personal check for $60 million, and he retained his share as the CEO of New Line Cinema. So, Bob, good for you.
Yes.
Tip of tequila for you.
Well, I will say I helped the budget of that film because I saw Book of Love in theaters. So you're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's great.
So I gotta now ask you about the movie that we reviewed, and one of the reasons we want to talk to you, which is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I know you've probably been inundated with so many questions about it, but one thing I wanted to say off the bat is I love Kenny's arc throughout that entire picture and just the script itself, because it's got so many different subplots. But with you, to go from like that stoner slacker that's just, messing up culinary arts and shooting up dishes, and then all of a sudden you get that haircut, you're refined, and you go through that change, but you don't lose your friends. Like, they're cool if you going back to school. And I thought that's pretty damn awesome. And I want to ask, like, I've heard Kenny was not your first choice when you read this script. Is that true?
Well, they had given me the script and said, read for Brian, the clown dog boy. And my grandfather had said, you don't want to get typecast doing the same thing over and over again. So I had just done a movie where I'm a nerd in love with the babysitter, and Brian is this nerd in love with the babysitter. And my brain went, no, you don't want to do the Brian role. But when I read the script, I went, what's this 15-year-old stoner that turns into a gourmet chef? That's the role. And I'm 20. I'm 20. And my agent goes, you're too old. 15, it's 15-year-olds. And I'm like, well, okay. So when I auditioned for Brian, I had brought a bag with a wig and torn jeans and everything. And so I auditioned for Brian. And then I asked the casting director, can I come back in a little bit and show you something? And she said, sure. I went in the car and I changed and I came back in and I kicked in the door in character. All right, man, who's in charge? Let's do this, rock and roll. And blacked out. I don't even remember the audition. I was Kenny. And got a call 3-4 days later, you booked it. So that was that was an affectation entirely. I did not, you don't smoke weed on a set. You don't smoke weed on a Warner Brothers set. This is one of the major studios. So professionals all around. So I'm working on the movie about a month and a half in or so, 3-month shoot. And we're out in Valencia shooting at the house. We've kind of done all the locations to the day and night exterior stuff. You cover that first in case you have a rain, and then you have a cover set to run into. If you shoot all your interiors first, you run out of cover sets. So you shoot all your exteriors, and then so we're moved into the house, and we're going to finish the movie. We have a month to shoot in this house. I leave my trailer one night and I smell weed. What the fuck? Who was smoking weed on the set of this big Warner Brothers movie? And I asked my stand and I go, Jeff, who's smoking weed? What's going on? And he goes, oh, everybody smokes weed. I go, what? He goes, yeah, the producers are total heads. They smoke it. Christina smokes it. What? He goes, craft service sells it. You're kidding me. I thought about it and I went, well, it's not Tony Montana, right? If you were ever going to experiment with really playing a character that's high and smoking weed, and I went, this is the part to do it. So I went up to craft service. I said, hi, I'd like a Dr. Pepper and an eighth of kind. And what's ironic, though, is we shot the movie kind of in sequence, and I start burned out and then clean up. And so I was sober for the stoned parts and stoned for the sober parts.
Oh, man. When do you think you realized like that movie had struck a chord? Because I don't think it was a hit at first, but more through word of mouth and over the years, repeated playings, it became a hit. When did it like first, or people start coming up to you, or it's like, hey, the dishes are done, man? You realize, oh, that role like really took off.
A week before the movie came out.
Wow. Really?
Because they played that trailer ad infinitum. It played for a week straight. Coming, this, well, she's gonna go have a vacation. No, she's not. The mom dies. The thing. The last thing in the trailer was, oh, dishes are done, man. Opens this Friday. So you didn't even have to see the movie to know the quote.
Okay.
But what was interesting, it did well. It was a cost 10. It made like 30 something, 32 million. Come on, that's great. But it wasn't $100 million runaway hit. Interesting. So instead of just being really hot and then running cold or having, I had a hit and then a miss, just steadily work on pictures that triple their budget in box office, like Adventures of Babysitting, you know, a $10 million budget, it made 37 million or whatever at the box office. So everyone's comfortable there. Everyone's made their money. I knew that Don't Tell Mom was something when the video came out. And by the way, Don't Tell Mom was the first movie to be released on DVD before it was released on video cassette.
Wow.
Because DVD was coming out. Remember the long boxes for the DVDs?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it opens and I look and there are 6-foot babysitter legs, the cardboard cutouts in stores, the house, the kids hanging off the side.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, they're promoting the hell out of this. Turns out they spent $1 million on an ad campaign to promote the VHS. But then something else happened. And it was a combination of the fact that if you look on the credits, you'll see thank you HBO and MTV and Warner Brothers and Outlaw Pictures. They had made Sex Lies and Videotape. They're the producers that found the script and stuff and got it to Christina Applegate through Ed O'Neill.
Mhm.
They asked Ed O'Neill to be Gus, and he goes, I can't do it. But Christina would crush it as Swell. And then he gave the script to Christina, and that's how that happened. So it was that when it went to HBO one summer, that was it. It never stopped playing. It never had a chance to go into nostalgia because it just played every summer. Oh, there it is. There's Don't Tell Mom again. You knew it was summer when Don't Tell Mom started showing up on HBO. And so it just kept playing and playing and playing. Then they remade it. We just released a remake. It is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. It has hit all the major platforms. We did theatrical in April, BET Plus in May, and now it's open. Go see it. Simone Joy Jones is a great. She is Tanya Sue Ellen Crandall. We shot it in the same house. 3 cast members have cameos. It is a black family now.
Mhm.
Chuck Hayward, who wrote Dear White People, WandaVision, and the last season of Ted Lasso, he said, what's the difference between a white family living in the suburbs and a white cop comes to the door looking for a dead white babysitter in the freezer, and a black family that lives in the suburbs and a white cop comes to the door looking for a dead white babysitter in the freezer? So, and he had another conceit. He goes, the original Don't Tell Mom is, first, it was subversive in that the trope was the parents leave town and everything falls to shit. Ferris Bueller, Risky Business, right? There's all these models of parents leave town and everything falls apart. And they go, if it's a girl, maybe they go, that would be great. The parents leave town, but the kids get their shit together and they grow up over the summer and everything's better. She's got a job, health insurance, the house is clean, Kenny can cook, like everything's fixed. And that's the whole idea of the movie. But it wound up being so in that conceit, they go, there's these kids that are kind of spoiled suburban kids, and they're quickly forced to grow up and take care of each other and stuff. And they're like, especially, let's look at the oldest sister. And Sue Ellen is thinking about boys and smoking and skipping college and going to art school and being a designer and stuff like that, right? She ignores her kids, her fellow siblings. In a black family, that girl would have been taking care of the rest of the kids and helping cook and clean, helping with the household the entire time. That's not the story. The story is that, and as a matter of fact, when they went to go do the remake, they go, bunch of kids that have to grow up ahead of their time and think about all these things. I guess sounds like it should have been about black family in the first place. So it's deep. It's got a bottom to it that the original didn't. The original is camp. It's a farce. It's fun. It's a girl teen escapist fantasy. Oh, they put me in charge of a company and it all worked out. The sequel is funnier. It's got funnier, better dialogue. Can't say a word of it because it is rated R. And It's really guys got great music. It is a better film, but they both coexist. And boy, did I get hate, man! I got posting and sharing them. They're like, not gonna watch it. No. I'm like, oh, I learned who my friends were.
Was there
And I go give
ever
it a chance. I was
talk of a
persistent. I didn't
follow-up?
give up. I didn't give up. I didn't block people. I didn't go. They say something kind of hateful, and I'll
Yeah.
go, well, you know what? It was made with a lot of love. I've never seen a remake made with as many Easter eggs, as many repeated lines, as many of the same move by move, camera movements, music cues. You go, oh my God, it just starts ringing all these bells from the original movie. And it's a remix. So everyone says reboot, remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, well, in Black culture, we didn't reboot songs. We didn't remake songs. We remixed them.
True.
And so the director, he says, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead is a remix of the original Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. It's really cool. It's a good movie. See it, please. I shot it behind the scenes. It's on my YouTube. Type in behind the scenes, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And it's a 7-minute video, and I just take you right onto the set.
Will do. Definitely. We'll put the link for the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
well,
I was going to ask.
To go see. We got some friends from out of town, and I know my wife.
Oh yeah,
wants
okay.
to pull me out down there.
Yeah.
Anything else? Because I do want to talk about Team of Two on Amazon. Just dropped like a month ago.
Yeah,
God,
plug whatever you want.
Feel free.
No, we made it on Black Magic camera, no film permits. It was Screen Actors Guild. It was union, but it stars anybody who picked up the phone. Eric Roberts, Mark Singer, Ken Devician, Lorenzo Lamas, me. That's how I answer the phone. This is Keith. I'll do it. And it is a buddy cop detective movie, but the main lead is so annoying because he lives in the 80s with like the DeLorean and the puffy jacket and the big cell phone that he can't keep a partner. I play one of 19 partners he shuffles through in the movie. And I'm funniest thing in the movie. I can honestly say that because it's a ridiculous part. And then coming out will be American Mother. I am the PR guy for that mother that trapped the kids in the basement and didn't feed them. And like, there's a terrible real world story. This filmmaker went and bought out all of the American Worker, American Mother, American this. He like bought all of these things. And when this real life story came in, he goes, oh, that title's perfect for this. She's the American Mother. And it was like this terrible thing of abuse. But everybody needs PR. Even Lacey Peterson had PR. Who's going to get people on Drew Barrymore's show, right? So it's like the scum of society. He's sitting in front of the prison advocating for it. He's like, well, there's no proof. And like all kids, who knows what the kids did? Maybe they were bad kids. He's a terrible scumbag. Then you see him go, hey, call me. That's the famous cannibal killer. Hey, no, call me. Use your phone call for me. And I finish doing my scenes, and it's improv. Director goes, that was great. It's an interesting take on it. I go, what do you mean? I go, I can't believe you're like doing a comedy on this subject matter. And he goes, like, you're shitting me, right? I go, what? He goes, you're shitting me, right? I go, you're shitting me. It wasn't a comedy. It's a dark comedy now. But I'm going to be some levity to cut to between all of the really dark stuff. You can pull out of it, show 20 seconds of me, get a laugh, and then go deep back in. And Taryn Manning is the mother. It's going to be awesome.
Okay, nice.
Okay, that sounds good.
That Cholo guy's in it. If you Google that Cholo guy in the movies,
I'm like, huh?
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We love him. Just go to our website. We're about to put Christmas ornaments. I do cameos, and we'll be at autograph conventions, Albuquerque in January, and April we'll be in Ohio. I push the ornaments. My wife's saying push the ornaments. KEITHCOOGANonline.com. Merry Christmas. We could be airing this after Christmas, so happy whatever.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
Thank you for being a guest. You're just as awesome in person as you are on screen.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Great questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Keith. I really appreciate your time.
Dude, dishes are done, man.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, man. Unfortunately, we had a limited time with KEITH Coogan, but we want to thank him definitely for being on our show, even for the limited time that he was. I'm just so, I think both of us are just so overcome with joy, like talking to him, rather amazed that, that he is a guest on our show as always. But, we grew up with him, watching him grow up, especially in teen films, that were more coming of age. So I guess in a way, it's a kind of a personal story. So we thank him for being on the show. And as you know, we always like to give flowers to all our guests. He entertained and inspired us with his work and talent. And, we just want to thank him and let him know that we appreciate it and all of his work. And as you guys can see, it was a very energetic time had by all. And as I said before, he's just as lovable and likable in person as he is on screen. So thank you, Mr. Keith Coogan. Hopefully sometime in the future, if you're free, feel free to come back. We would love to have you again. So that ends this episode of Unfinished Business television interview or special guest, Keith Coogan. And until next time, we bid you adieu and happy holidays, everybody, whenever you're watching this.
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.